Welcome watch geeks to the review of the Maurice Lacroix Aikon Venturer GMT with a white dial. This watch was kindly lent to me by the boys at Grimoldi Watches Milan, www.grimoldiwatches.com. Check them out. So let's see what I think of this watch. Spoiler alert, it's pretty cool. So like I said, this watch is pretty cool. And who's the coolest bunch of the lot? Well, the Beatles of course, and there they are. Not quite as colourful as the Beatles, but interesting nonetheless with that orange GMT hand. No points for guessing what it reminds me of, because it looks like the love child of an AP Royal Oak, a Nautilus, and with a bit of Submariner put in there, maybe a bit of Explorer. But you gotta admit it's a pretty interesting mix of styles. You've got the Maurice Lacroix crown with crown guards screwed in, integrated bracelet with a 5-link which is really solid, very fine brushing on the sides, chamfered top, and a polished bezel. The bezel inserts are ceramic and loomed. Just look at the light play on the links on that bracelet. It's mesmerizing. The tolerances are actually really tight. Then you got the butterfly clasp with the Maurice Lacroix logo on it. Looks pretty good. And thankfully it's one of those butterfly clasps which you can open without having to decide which side open first, which makes it much more easy to open and close, especially when it's on your wrist. There you go. And the links are held in by a pin and collar system. At this price I would have expected screws, but I tried removing a few links and it was okay. And articulation is fantastic. It's supremely comfortable. It's a big watch, 42 in diameter with a lug-to-lug of nearly 50 and a weight of 180 grams. It's quite heavy. Now look at that quick release system. As you see, in a jiffy I took the bracelet off, foolproof completely. What surprised me was the back. Now this watch has a 300 meter rating, which is pretty surprising for a GMT that wants to be like a sports watch. And the back is not screwed in, it's screwed down with a number of screws, which did surprise me, but I'm pretty sure that Maurice Lacroix knows what it's doing. The back has a nice design, the usual spec sheet of course, and in the middle the GMT zones of the world. Now that's useful if you want to know what time it is in all the world. Let's put it back together. Let's see. Pretty easy. Easy out and easy in. Just press the two knobs together, and just put it in. Clicks in and as solid as a rock. This watch comes in a kit with a rubber bracelet as well if you want, or you can have it just with a metal bracelet and it's a little cheaper. €24.90 versus €2,650. Now the bezel action is very precise when you can get a grip on it. Now with rubber gloves I had no problem turning it around, precise with no back play. But it was quite slippery with my bare hands. Thickness is 12.5 millimeters, so it's not too thick. Now, apart from those screwed-in crown guards, the crown is pretty interesting because you can see that actually has a black, shiny ceramic surround. Makes the crown very grippy, much grippier than the bezel, and actually gives it quite a nice style. The sapphire crystal is perfectly flat and it's got some blue AR undercoating there. I wouldn't say the dial is white, it's more a creamy color and with a strong sunburst effect that you can see natural light. More on that later. The handset is very elegant, the hour and the minute hand are reminiscent of the Nautilus. And a bit more detail again there on the sides. Brushing is extremely fine and lovely executed chamfer over the top of the case. There's quite a mix of shape for the hour markers, as you'll see later in the macro section. They're quite particular. They only have like the center part of the marker loomed. It looks quite interesting. We'll see that better later. The date window is framed and is a contrasty black. I would have preferred it color matched, but you can't have everything, can you? And here it is again in all its glory, in a wide shot with the Beatles. Now let's have a look at some macro. Now look at that cream colored dial. Fantastic. The orange GMT hand looks pretty good. It's not a very strong shade of orange. It's quite subtle, but it does give that dial a bit of a pop. And the printing is absolutely spot on. It's as sharp as I've ever seen on any watch I've owned or handled. The hour markers are extremely well finished, but the shape may not be to everybody's liking. I'm not too certain myself, to tell the truth. But when you look at the dial in its entirety, it sort of comes all together. The strange shape of the hour markers, the black and white on the bezel, the extremely well finished hands and GMT hand. Okay, it's a mishmash of styles, but it works. Talking about the hands, they are extremely thick, as you will see in the other close-up. Look at that. Look at that hand stack. Nicely stacked, and the thickness. Look at the second hand is just so thick. It looks even thicker than the hour and the minute hand. Fantastic work there. It shows a level of precision and workmanship that's very hard to find at this price point. But you haven't really experienced this watch if you haven't taken it out in the sunlight. Look at how the light plays on the bracelet, it's incredible. And only in the sunlight can you see the color of the dial and that sunburst effect. I'm gonna try and show how it comes out by playing around a bit with the watch. Let's see, close up, and there it is. Look at that sunburst. And here you can actually notice that that dial is that creamy kind of Explorer, old Explorer 2 color. And the ceramic bezel inserts are pretty awesome too. Depending on how the light hits them, they go from black to grey, back to black again. Incredible. I love it. I was very sad when I had to give it back. But what about the lume, do you ask? Well, here it is. Pretty impressive. This is dive watch grade lume with what appears to be a mix of C3 and a BGW9, C3 on the hands and BGW9 on the hour markers and the bezel. It will last you through the night, I'm pretty sure. So, to wrap things up, what do I think of this watch? I've had it for about 10 days. The first thing that I noticed as soon as I picked it up was the incredible build quality. That's something that's very hard to convey on video. I was amazed at how solid the watch felt. Heavy, maybe a bit too heavy, but that just adds to the impression that you're getting your money's worth in quality, that's for sure. This is being a mid-range Solita movement priced at nearly 2,700 euros. It's a bit over what I would pay, but I think it really punches above its weight quality-wise, so the price is entirely justified. It's a big and heavy watch, so if you have a smaller wrist, this may not be your thing. For reference, I have an 18 centimeter wrist, but I think anybody with a wrist below 17 would struggle. It's going to be a bit of a stretch. But like always, your mileage may vary. The best thing was to go to the AD and try one on, see how it goes. In the time I've had this watch, its funny mix of styles grew on me. In the beginning, I looked at it with a bit of surprise. This watch wanted to be everything and ended up being nothing. Wanted to be a bit of an AP, a bit of a Nautilus, a bit of an Explorer, a bit of a Submariner. But look at it all together and it works, strangely. So, that's all I've got for you. If you like the video, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. If you like my style of video, please consider subscribing and hitting the little bell icon. You can also find me on Instagram at time2talkwatches, time2talk_watches actually. Until the next video, this has been Gigi signing off. Take care.